Hi, welcome. This is the Tillamook County Pioneer Podcast. We have guest speaker Jan Boal here today to discuss her latest book, Safari for the Soul. Before I give you any background information, I'm going to let Jan introduce herself to the audience and then we'll get right into it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. So my name is Jan Boal, obviously, and I have 25 years experience as a psychiatric RN. I have my own little side business of what I do for Positive Vibes Coaching. It's a holistic coaching where I include mind, body, spirit, energy. I'm an author, Sorry for the Soul. And then I'm also a shamanic practitioner, and I'm also an honorary Maasai warrior.
That's incredible. I don't know which one of those things to dive into first. I think the healing aspect is definitely something our community is going to be interested in. We have a lot of people who are either practitioners or interested in alternative healing methods, but also honorary Maasai warrior. I mean, you can't just breeze past that and just let that
No.
sit. How did that happen? Um,
Well, it kind of, we might need to go back to the beginning of, so it's in my book, and which my book is about my travels around the world studying endangered animals. And I went about this because, endangered animals are important to me, but basically I wanted to put my theory to practice that we get signs from the universe. And how this came about was, I'll give you an example. I was driving to work. It was the week before Christmas. And I was thinking about, I had recently been divorced, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do with the property. I wanted to build a retreat house because I love empowering women. And so I'm thinking this, and I literally hear a voice in the back of my car that says, "Oh, you could travel the world, Jan." And I was like, I look behind me and I'm like, what? I'm a psychiatric nurse. That's a little unnerving. And then I was thinking, what do you mean I could travel the world? And I was thinking of all these reasons why I couldn't. And then all of a sudden it was like this, my solar plexus just kind of like took off. And then I started thinking of all the reasons why I could, because I love meeting people. I love learning about cultures and learning about it firsthand. And I'm an extrovert, so of course, I love that aspect. And so I said, okay, universe, if I'm supposed to go on this, you're going to give me a sign so big that I can't ignore it, because I'm thinking, what's going on here? 10 minutes later, I get to work, and there on my desk is a little secret Santa gift, and I open it up, and it's a calendar. When I flip it over, it says passport to the world. I was like, what? Okay. And then I
God,
took,
if only all the signs were that clear and obvious.
I know. And that's part of what this book will tell you, why you're with me. You're on this journey with me. And because that's kind of what I put my purpose to, was about finding out this is what I believed. Let me put it to practice. And lo and behold, it's that and more. And so you're with me when I experience these. So you understand what it looks like, what it feels like, what it could come across as. That, sometimes it's very obvious like that. And sometimes you think, but as you take, if you go to my event, I will talk more about what that looks like. And I think it's very important for people to be in touch with that, to let them know they're on the right path, because we all have uncertainty and we want to put out there what we want. And then we'll get these little messages along the way to let us know, yeah,
Okay,
you're going
for
forward.
this one of those meta interjections, I try not to inject myself too much into these discussions because it's always about the person you're interviewing. It's never about you. But literally, I had this conversation with myself last week. I was like, universe, I just need a sign.
Yes,
As
see?
you're just, it's like, yes,
Yes,
exactly. Sometimes you just need
yes.
it to be really obvious.
Right. And things don't always happen in our time. And that's why I asked for, okay, it's kind of not like happening very fast here. So could I have a sign that I'm on the right track? And I get them. And I get them. An amazing thing happened. So what happened in Safari for the Soul on my quest, I traveled, I studied jaguars in Brazil, the dolphins in the Mediterranean, the black rhino in Kenya. I trekked and saw the silverback gorilla. There was other adventures that I took. When I was in Kenya and we were doing a morning, kind of, a little roundabout, just travel around checking on the area, AM dawn patrol. So from the time that I got into the truck that morning, I didn't have a good, I didn't have a good feeling. And I'd already had lots of experiences before this, so I knew to pay attention. And when we stepped out of the Jeep, I was like, I don't know, this doesn't feel very comfortable. Because in Alaska, you wear like a bell, so you scare off, animals know you're coming. Well, on this, you don't, because you wanted to blend in, and you wanted to just observe. And I kept saying, I feel like we're going to be a burglar and we're going to stumble upon somebody's den and they're not going to be happy about it. Well, this has been going on for 10 years. We have an armed guard with us. Nothing has ever happened before. And so while we're out on foot and the Jeep is gone, we just got dropped off. And so we had our duties of what we were doing, and it was literally like what you see in the movies, suddenly it kind of went all wispy around me, kind of cloudy, and I see this lion jump out from behind a tree and attack my work partner, Kathy. And then it was just gone. And I was like, okay, what was that? What was that? And Kathy was way back behind me. So I said, Kathy, get up here, get close, get close to me. And we were out in an open area. And then about 5 minutes or so later, we start venturing into this very tight, dense bush area where there was just the single file path that we could go onto. And so it was Haley was one of the volunteers, and then our armed guard, and I was behind the armed guard. Kathy was behind Haley, and then one of the other volunteers was kind of around the bush checking out elephant dung, because that was an important part of our job. And so just as we're starting to walk, he just stopped, and it's like, I bump into him, and he stops and he just says, and you don't run. It's like a scene at a Jurassic Park. No, it's not a good thing to run. And so we all knew it was a life and death situation. So I'm booking it out of there. And you do think of things, a million things in a nanosecond. And I'm just thinking, what is it? Because I was like, is it a lone Cape buffalo, which is very, very dangerous? Or my biggest fear was getting ripped apart by a warthog. So it was about my third or fourth step out, and I hear this massive roar, and it like vibrates up my body. And I literally said, shit, it's a lion. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I went into defense mode because of all my years of training in the psychiatric field. I know defense and safety measures to do. So I'm thinking, the first thing I thought was, what if I roll backwards and zigzag, and I'll just freak the lion out. And then I'm like, I can't out zigzag a lion. They've got the element of surprise on me. So I'm literally thinking of just trying to get to the next bush and to survive 2 seconds at a time. There's no trees. There's bushes with very long thorns, and I am just thinking about getting there. And as you can hear the paws hit the ground, and it vibrates up your body, and the inertia is so strong, it sounds like a train coming after you. And I knew in the next leap, it was either me or the person that I heard rustling around beside me. But I'm not looking, I'm not doing any movement to slow my momentum down. I'm just trying to get somewhere that gives me a couple more seconds. So I then brace myself for the attack. I'm not even thinking about dying. I'm just bracing myself for the attack. And then I hear this massive thud, and I stop and I turn and I look around. And of course, I got my whole safari gear on that, John Wayne would love. And I had this, nice big safari hat. But so I could only see some when I was looking, and I see it's a lioness, and she is on top of Kathy. And then she's gone. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking, is there a pride of them? I don't know. We've all scattered, and I just was like, okay, so I stopped for a second, and I can see Kathy is face down, she's so many yards away. And I just thought, I can't leave her out there. I know what it now feels like to be a soldier and not to leave anybody, behind. Plus, I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse. And so I just said, I just sent a wish out to my kids, and I didn't think I was going to get lucky twice. I didn't think that this was going to go well, but I had to do it. And I just asked that my kids, they forgive me for doing this, and I wished them the very best in life. And so I went back to check on her. And as I'm assessing her, I'm like, oh my gosh, all your pieces are together. I mean, she had some serious wounds, but she wasn't splurting blood, and her body parts were together. And as I'm assessing her and trying to talk to her, and she's kind of coming around, I hear the sound. The lioness has turned back around, and now she's back where we had first entered, which is not very far from where I'm at now. And now it's her and I, and she's staring me down, and she's getting ready to now pounce on me. So she pulls her ears back. She lets out this massive roar and hunches down. So I just grabbed Kathy by the back of her pants and just picked her up and hauled her off. And we live, but there was there's definitely more to that story, that, trying to go to a rural hospital, which is still, by our means, is there's not a whole lot to it. They don't even have supplies in the cabinets because people steal them. And so they're not understanding the severity of this until, I'm in the room with her, and I didn't want to be one of those bossy American nurses, but I was applying pressure to her wound, and you could feel it coming up through my arms. And, I did manage to find a wad of cotton, and I'm just yelling out that I need help. And so they come in and they realize, oh, this is a little worse than we thought. So she had to have surgery. It was a massive wound, but I won't say all of it, so that you can buy the book and
Yeah.
enjoy
Uh,
the adventure.
I
Yeah.
have in any of the interviews that I've done, I think I've done 3 dozen so far of these longer form interviews. I have never once been so riveted by a story. I mean, I've heard some amazing stories, but a lion attack is incredibly terrifying. I cannot
Yes.
imagine the level of, I mean, you're as a nurse, obviously, you are trained at a level to deal with a variety of things. But I mean, how was that experience for you? Like, how did that change how you viewed trauma? And like, are you
Yeah, it
even
was,
able
yeah,
to relatively be afraid of anything after
yeah.
a
I
lion
don't
attack?
recommend it. I did have a little bit of PTSD when I got back home. I didn't like abrupt sounds,
You didn't like house cats quite as much?
Well, I didn't like the sound of, like, even my dog hitting the paws,
Oh,
hitting the ground running. That would
oh
kind of,
goodness.
set me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it just takes time, and it is, it's a part of what it is. Just, luckily I don't have to deal with that every day, so it's not long lasting. But the Maasai warrior part was when I went to the Maasai Mara, um, about a week later, and I had a guide who was a Maasai warrior, because they stick around the area for several months at a time as their herd feeds and such, and they take up side jobs. So he gets into the Jeep, and he gets behind, looks behind in the back seat where I am, and he goes, "So, have you seen any lions lately?" And because he goes, and so then he explains to me what it is to be a Maasai warrior, which is a whole bunch of events. And then at the end, you have to spear a lion. And I said, well, this is what happened to me. And he was just like, this just happened last week. And he was just like, oh my gosh, you're so brave. You're so brave. And so I was just like, and all the Kenyans told all of us really, that it's just not your time to die. There's a reason. And so the next day he came back to take me on one last little excursion. And he said, I told my village about you. And the chief can't imagine a woman so brave, and he wants to meet you. So I was invited back, and they were kind of planning this ceremony, the whole thing with maybe cow's blood we get to drink, the whole kit and caboodle. And I was like, I only have to put it to my lips. I don't have to really drink it. I don't want to be rude. So, but it was a wonderful experience meeting the villagers that were there and all the children and their customs. And then they wound up serenading me, and they put this beautiful necklace that the chief's wife had made. She wouldn't make it for me, it was already made, but they gave it to me, and my guide had put pinned his shukra around me, and then the other warriors did a dance around me. And to understand about Maasai warriors, they're known as the fiercest warriors in Africa. They're the guys that can run for days, and they're not afraid to go after anything that they want. They know how to use their spears, and they mean it.
That's
So,
so appropriate for your personality type in this story arc too. That's incredible. That's
right,
such a
right.
weird synchronicity.
Yeah, and they consider women second class. So it was a very, it's an honor I really respect, and I honor for being given that. So, yeah, who knew that was going to happen?
That's incredible. That's incredible. I can ask you so many more questions, but I think we should let the audience read because
Yes.
you've hooked them, I'm sure. If
Right.
you're not hooked by
Yeah.
this lion story, I don't know what's gonna hook
Yeah,
you.
there's wonderful stories in there. Each chapter takes you to a different country in my interactions with that country and that endangered animal. I also describe what that endangered animal represents spiritually, and how it
Oh,
affects
that's
the
fun.
village and how the village affects that animal. So it's very much an inspirational environmental adventure.
It's literally a spirit guide. It's a soul animal spirit guidebook. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, how many countries did you end up visiting?
I studied the jaguar in Brazil, which is my favorite animal. And then I was in the Mediterranean and studied the dolphins. And then in Africa, it was the black rhino. And in each of these countries, there was also others. Like we were in Brazil, we were also in search of the giant river otters. And I got to experience pink river dolphins. That's pretty amazing.
I'm so
And
jealous right now.
I can't keep telling you things because, but
No.
everything that I had thought, and I knew I was going to have an encounter, like, see a jaguar. I just knew it, but I wasn't going to worry about how that happened. And what happened was amazing. I would have never That's what's so great about the universe. I would have never thought of anything that great. So yeah, so each place you're just right there with me experiencing it, and it's really very fun. It's a great experience. And what I've gotten back from people was how they learned from my book how to be courageous, how to not live in fear. And that is very much about what my workshops and my speaking events are, is about learning how to empower ourselves and to go after what we want. Because fear's, we just become stagnant in fear, many of us, and don't go after really what we want and that what can improve our lives. So I'm all about it being a win-win.
I love that. Um, Perfect segue. So your next speaking event's coming up in 2 days in Cape Coanda, and then you've got another one in August in Tillamook. Why don't you tell the audience the pertinent details? We'll also include this all in an article that we'll link to.
Sure.
So
So the speaking event is free, and it's called Live the Life You Desire. And I have kind of a 5-step blueprint of how you can do this. And this is stuff that I've been doing for the last 20 years, so I can verify its authenticity and how well it works. I'll have plenty of stories to share and examples to give. Um, so that will be at the Kiwanda Club, at the Kiwanda Community Center in Pacific City, and then again in August at Tillamook. And Yeah, I love
And that's the Tillamook
empower.
Library, right?
Right. I
Perfect.
love empowering. I love empowering others. So that's kind of the goal. It's a win-win. They can find out other things that I offer as well, and they can choose to, utilize that or not. But
Yeah,
um,
you mentioned workshops.
right. Well, I also do coaching. So some of
Okay.
this stuff will involve my holistic coaching, if they so choose that they want to be interested in that. And so I'm very
We
much
have a few
about,
more minutes. You're welcome to elaborate on that. This is definitely not a you can't talk about, your product. People can pitch their products here.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Positive vibes, holistic coaching, I incorporate everything, because I have a strong spiritual background, and I'm very and been a psychiatric nurse for 25 years. So we are not just one thing. We're just not our mind. We're not just our heart. We are mind, body, spirit, energy, and environment. So I incorporate that into our session. So you get a very well-rounded service, because it's all about balance, and you find out other things about yourself when you focus on those, and you find out what your strengths are, and that's what's really important. And I have some great package deals, and they incorporate some of those things. Some of my packages include massage and an outdoor adventure and things like that, because I want them to experience all of that, that this is not is it only about empowering, but it's also healing and taking care of themselves. And, we never take care of ourselves as much as we really need to. So I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, this
you've
is this
sold
is a
me.
wellness package. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
everybody needs massage. I think there are very few people on the planet that genuinely wouldn't benefit from massage. Most people would
I
benefit from
know,
massage.
right? Heart disease would go down.
Oh my goodness.
If
Yeah, I
everybody
mean,
got one once a week, woo,
gosh,
we'd be a happy planet.
I get them once a year sometimes. I love them so much though. We have just a few more minutes. Why don't we, just recap when, where, and where they can find your book, most
Oh
importantly.
yeah, okay.
I'm assuming it's available at Cloud and Leaf. I know that they do special orders, so if it's not there in stock, they can order it and then pick it up
Oh,
at
okay.
Cloud and
Because
Leaf in
I
Manzanita.
did at one time have a couple books there, and then they sold. And then when
Mhm.
I went back, they didn't want to restore. Um, but
It depends on,
now there's a new owner, and
yes,
I have not
exactly.
made it up there yet.
Yeah.
I've talked to them about some
I want to say
events they have.
Holly, if it's still Holly and Chip, they own
Yes.
is a publisher. So he is all about holding local space for local art,
Yeah.
authors.
Oh, good to
So
know. Good to
definitely,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely reach out. And Holly's an author too. So they're very
Yeah.
supportive. But
And you
they
can get
also,
it on,
Amazon, I'm
you can-
guessing, and
yes,
Ellsworth's.
Amazon. Yeah, Amazon.
Perfect.
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
if you want to order through me, I will give you a signed copy and I'll mail it to you.
Ooh, where do
How
they
about
find
that?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do. I want to read your book now.
Okay.
But where do they find, is it at your website or how do they get that?
Yes. So that's at janboal.com.
And that's
And
BOAL,
yeah,
just in case.
Boal. I'm also on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page, Positive Vibes, which is all about only positive things, where we lift each other up. I send out positive messages. People tell me, things are going well with their life. I also do for free, and this came up during COVID when everybody was in such despair. And I thought, wow, we need to we need to, raise this
Lighten the
vibration
mood a little
here.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I came up with Positive Vibes virtual meetup group. And this is held, it's still 2.5, 3 years later, we're still meeting on Sundays. And all this is about stating a gratitude. And gratitude is so important. It puts us in a state of grace. It makes us be aware of what we do have. And when we're in a state of grace, that brings about peace, peace for
I just
ourselves, peace
love
for the rest of the.
everything that you've said. This is so wonderful. It's so
Oh,
nice to be
thank
reminded
you.
of these
And
things.
so we just we state a gratitude and what our intention is for the week. And it gives us something to focus on. And my troop is still hanging on after all these years. I've gotten a couple new people in, but more are welcome. You can also contact me on my website. And you know, if you're interested, there's no obligation. You can try it. If it's not for you, that's okay. You don't have to come every week. You know, we all have busy lives, and
I'll make sh I'll make sure to take the Facebook link and put it into the supplementary article that
yeah,
goes with this video so that
super.
if people want to join it, they can just go
Yeah.
right to it.
Yeah, you know, a dream of mine is to have the Positive Vibe virtual group go, you know, well, global would be nice, but I'll be happy with the US, even Oregon. And but can you imagine if people did that once a week? The rippling effects, because positivity has rippling effects, and you will get that back in return. But to be able to put that out there, you know, intuitively that it would cause a shift in how our communities are, how our lives are. And that's what positive vibes is all about. That's my goal, is just making it a better place.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
One more time for those of us with terrible memories and short attention spans, the name of your book is, and you can hold
Safari
it
for
up,
the
maybe hold it up.
soul. Safari for the
Yes,
soul. And
beautiful.
actually, this has received 5-star reviews from like the San Francisco Book Review,
Love that.
Seattle Book Review. So just so you know, there's some clap behind that.
I love it.
And then my events coming up in the community is at the Kiwanda Club on Wednesday, the 24th. It's from 10 to 11:30. And then August 7th at Tillamook Library, and that will be from 1 to 2:30. And like I said, it's
Beautiful.
free. Bring your
Beautiful.
friends. Let's talk.
Buy a copy of the book and get it signed there.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a just absolute pleasure hearing your stories, and I'm going
Well,
to
thank
absolutely
you.
buy your
Thank
book.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Um,
Okay.
this has been the Tillamook County Pioneer Podcast. I am Kara. This has been Jan, and I hope that you all buy her book because reading is important, and this sounds like a great one. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much for your time, and
Oh, thank you so much, Cara.
yeah, and everybody can enjoy whatever they're doing for the rest of the morning, noon, or night when they watch this.